We're looking at this particular matter between the Senate President. I'll remind us of what we're focusing on this morning. And the political parties involved have all dissociated themselves out of all of this. And so many Nigerians are saying for the very first time we're getting to see a move. When we talk about no sacred cows, they say is a right step in the right direction. What do you see? I go back to the question mark I was trying to ask you. What do you see as any anomaly in this fight at the CCT? It's a battle that the Senate President must also free himself of, prove his innocence. And that's why we're asking you, what is it that you have seen that you say is not too good before you?
I dispute your words on the issues of sacred cows. When General Buhari was running for election, he said that he will not spare anybody if he wins. He won, and a case file was given to him, a case that was investigated by the Inspector General of Police. That case is the case of the Halliburton issue. And the idea about the Halliburton actually stands at the fundamental of our intentions to fight corruption. Go to a forest, and if you see the biggest trees that occupy the canopies there, push them down if they have done anything wrong. But when he looked at the list of the names that were convicted in that Halliburton thing, those who confessed, and he said no, he will not touch them due to what? Some people he considered sacred cows due to, as they explained to me later, esprit de corps. Why has he not dealt with Halliburton? Ask yourself. Why abandon it? Because Halliburton, some Americans have been convicted, and as I speak to you, they are in prison. In Nigeria, we said we want to fight corruption. Yes, take this already done case, Halliburton, and that's why you've seen me severally on television to say that General Buhari lacks the political will to fight corruption. If he travels to the US with people who are known to be very, very corrupt, if you also have those people that are involved in the Halliburton problem, circling the villa, being his friends, being ambassadors, and of course, emissaries.
Quite an interesting angle note that you have opened. And if you say you're bringing the Halliburton the matter, which is very key here, is a global talk. And you're saying if the president or the presidency has not been able to look into that particular document, that particular corruption allegation, then it shouldn't talk about sacred cows. Is that your point?
Exactly. Exactly. Because when he said no sacred cows, the Americans now gave him a list. He said these Americans have been convicted, they've gone to prison. And we also discovered that in your country, that President Yar'Adua set up an investigative committee headed by the Inspector General of Police. You cannot get a better IPO than the IG.
In closing with you, you did say that this doesn't look as if it is a move towards fighting corruption, towards fixing a better Nigeria. Specifically, you mentioned the Halliburton scandal. You did say from the Halliburton case and the case between the Senate President and the CCB, it is absolutely selective.
That is right. It is selective. Don't forget, since then, we have found a lot of things in Halliburton. There is a name mentioned in Halliburton, page 22. There were reasons why he doesn't want to deal with the Halliburton. Deal with Halliburton. Push down the tall trees that occupy the canopies in the forest so that all the small trees will know that no tree can be spared if they are found wanting. And this is what we're saying. Why has he not touched Halliburton? He came from the United States and he said, no, I will not touch Halliburton. I will only do selective. And that's what we said. If you're going to do selective by targeting only good luck government, targeting those that you do not like, that will amount to selective witch hunt. Another reason why I also said that President Buhari lacks the political will to fight corruption is the nepotism which he has displayed in appointments. Now look at the flagrant disregard of the Constitution, making appointments without referring them to the Senate for confirmation. This is the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. No matter what we might not like them, but this is the way it is.
Did you get the reason why all of that came about? You heard what the presidency did say, that they are there in acting capacity. They still will come before the Senate.
How long will they act? That's what he told you, acting capacity. We are now beginning to see that they're actually not there in acting capacity. Look at even the appointments. Look at the way it's been. I have a personal friend of mine who had been with General Buhari. He was introduced to General Buhari by Chuba Okadibo. His name is Osto Kechuku. He's from Southeast, and nobody from Southeast has been appointed by General Buhari. Well, look at this, and look at even the problem with the banks. I knew what we did under President Goodluck.
Let's close on this. Let's close on this because we're really out of time. It would seem as if you don't get to see any form of good in the fight against corruption from this administration.
If the fight is holistic, you do not fight terror by pretending to fight those on the side. You cannot resume as a DPO in a police station and say that the armed robbers who were caught in the morning, because those who did afternoon duty did not charge them, I'm not going to charge them to court. I only want to charge the armed robbers who stole in the evening. It doesn't work that way. If you're the sheriff, you're the sheriff. You're there to keep the law and order. You're there to be fair to all. You're there to be president of Nigeria, not president of the selected few. You heard what he said.
You know, Mr. Ononuju, it will help a great deal if you do not use certain kinds of, examples. Because when you talk about armed robbers and you talk about a policeman, those kinds of similes, or is it metaphor now, might not exactly fit in this scenario. But quickly, do you think, just a moment, do you think that the Senate president should have declared his assets publicly?
I believe the Senate president should do everything in conformity with the law as it is in our constitution. I also believe that public office holders should lead by example, should declare their asset as at when due. But I do not believe that out of 18,600 declarations, which should have been what we've had since 1999 till date, 16 years of democracy, that you will not pick only one person simply because he became a member of a team that sought to assert the independence and autonomy of the legislature. I think this is targeted witch hunt, and this is the reasons why I believe that President Buhari lacks the political will to fight corruption in a very holistic manner.
Dr. Ononuju, Director General of the Heritage Center, thanks for speaking with us on Sunrise Daily. We'll take a moment and return shortly to look at the same matter from another perspective. Join us again.